Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the Real Deal Talk podcast studio. Epic 60 fighter interviews, but we don't have a fighter in the studio right now. We have
Retired.
the most. Oh, that's right. You're a retired fighter. Okay. So I'm so excited. I had no idea you were on the schedule today. And ladies and gentlemen, please help me introduce the madam of the entire event. Jason's right-hand woman that nothing happens without her. Nothing. I mean, nothing goes down without Joselin, a.k.a. Joselin Fuller. Welcome to the show, sister.
Thank you so much for having me, JD.
Okay, so I'm excited here because, and everybody knows, yeah, JD, you're always excited. This is true. It's totally true. I'm always excited about this. What's funny is Diane, my employee that runs the wellness center, I come out, and I've been interviewing since 7 a.m., so we're 5 hours in at this point, and she's like, man, you must be exhausted. Like, she always says that to me. I'm like, no. I'm like, what are you talking about? I do 15-hour days like it's nothing. She's like, you must be exhausted. I'm like, how can I be exhausted interviewing people, amazing people, and pouring into people and making a difference? Like, how do you get, you don't get, when you're in your calling, you don't get exhausted, right?
That's right.
Ain't nothing but a thing. So speaking of their calling, Joselin, I'm so excited because every fight that I've been to, so you always come up to me and you always have this beautiful, amazing, sweet smile. You have such a pleasant, beautiful energy about you. So I'm so happy that we're here face to face and able to talk a little bit. Because it's always just been, hey, give me the beautiful smile, give me a nice hug, and
whatever you need.
And off we go. And off we go. That's it. So now here we are. So let's break this down. How long have you been with the Epic fighting?
Man, that's I have to answer that question in layers, actually.
Give it to me.
So I'm now the operations manager for Epic. I've been doing that for about half a year now.
Okay.
But many moons ago, back in 2018, actually, I fought for Epic.
Wow.
That's where I started my amateur MMA career. Yeah.
No kidding.
That's right. Yeah. So
and listen, most fighters are so nice. So I guess it makes sense, but I still wouldn't picture you as being a fighter because you're so nice.
You know, there's this quote from some spiritual writings that says that with fire we test gold, and with gold we test our servants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
I
that's
like that.
from the Baha'i writings.
Yeah.
And that's really another way of saying that it's calamity and challenge that shapes you, that makes
Of course.
you. That's how you find yourself.
100%.
Yeah. So I think it has a lot to do with why fighters are such like balanced, generally kind people.
Yeah. You're right. And again, going back to what I was saying about when she said, oh, you must be exhausted. But when you know you're operating in your calling and why you were put here, your purpose, you don't get tired.
Yeah, you don't even need to sleep sometimes.
Correct.
You don't want to.
You
can't wait to wake up to do it again.
I say this all the time. Like, I'm pissed that I've got to go to sleep. I'm like, I don't want to go to sleep. I cannot wait to wake up. But I know that I have to get actual good sleep to operate.
Yes. Yeah,
right?
And that's another part of
it's got to be done.
The playbook of finding your purpose. If you eat, it's to fuel yourself, to work your calling better. If you sleep, it's to rest so that you're better recovered and focused to do that thing that you want to do.
That's right.
Like everything that you do, your friendships, your relationships, your pastimes and entertainment, ultimately you learn to make those revolve around that purpose that you found.
That's right.
It's different from being self-centered, though.
Correct. 100%.
If anything, you see that your purpose feeds all of those
Oh,
things.
yeah. Well, I mean,
it's more outward.
100%. Yeah. It's funny.
I feel you.
Absolutely. And some people, like the most selfless thing you can do is focus on yourself and become the best version of yourself. That's the most selfless thing you can do.
1,000%.
Because then those around you in your life, your family, people, social media who you're inspiring, they're going to benefit by you being at your best. So you owe it to all of them to be actually selfish, if you think about it, to focus on yourself and cultivate your gifts. We just had this, I was talking to one of the fighters, cultivating the gifts that God has given you and then doing good with it. Everybody has the same purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Live out your gifts, cultivate them,
Word.
maximize your potential, and then for the rest of your entire life, give them out to the world, give them away.
Word, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's something that I recently, another challenge, more like a mental moral identity challenge that I came upon in the last like year that I've been working on
Yeah.
is it was like a breakthrough. You know, I realized that I am not using all of my talents.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like hoarding them.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen a hoarder house, yeah, they might have some valuable things here and there, but they're not being used. They're just stored away because just in case they might use them one day, or maybe when they die, they might have value for somebody. And I feel like that's what I'm doing with like my gifts and talents. And so that was a really hard thing to realize about myself.
Wow.
And I've been kind of working on little by little breaking out of my shell again, because I feel like when I was younger in my 20s, I'm in my early 30s now. When I was in my 20s, I just lived out of the shell.
Yeah.
I was afraid of nothing, and I did all the adventures and met so many cool people and learned a lot of awesome things, and even went on some dope spiritual journeys. And I don't know what happened that I just kind of, I think COVID, honestly.
Yeah.
Being in lockdown kind of locked me down mentally too, kind of.
Right.
And so how long has lockdown been over? A couple of years now, 3-4 years
We're like
now.
we're almost at 5 years.
Yeah, and I'm still slowly breaking out of that quarantined way of living, you know? So yeah, it was a hard thing to realize, like, man, I think I'm committing the greatest sin of all, which is keeping my gifts to myself.
Yeah.
And that's not what life is about.
Absolutely not.
So actually being operations for Epic is one of the many things that that have allowed me to start breaking out of my shell, meeting people, using my talents, and also learning other good things about myself that I didn't know I had. Like, I'm more organized than I thought. Like,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so how long have you known Jason?
At this level, about a year.
Okay.
You know.
How did you
at
get
this
introduced to the organization?
Through my first MMA coach I ever had, Roger Contreras. I don't know if he's watching, but I'll make sure he watches later.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
he has his own little coaching gig called Rocco Boxing. I met Roger at a gym that's like no longer open, but when it closed, he stayed in touch with me and 2 other guys and was like, hey, you guys have a lot of potential. And it was another one of those things where, like, out of instinct, he's like, I just keep having this thought and this impulse to like help you guys become fighters. And he's like, I'm not a coach, but I'll do my best for you guys. And, you know, said and done, like, he brought out the best of himself to bring out the best in us 3. And we did a few amateur fights. And for all of us, that first fight was at Epic.
Yeah.
So I guess that coach had fought at Epic a few years back when they were still at 4th and B.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So back in like the OG.
4th and B.
Yeah.
That's
like
where you had the
OG
fights?
Epic times.
4th and B.
In
No way.
downtown.
I remember
Yeah.
that club.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Man. So yeah, I guess it's kind of like it was passed down to us from our coach who
Yeah.
had also done it. So he's not my coach anymore. I had to move around and travel, and every city I had to move to, I was lucky to find a good leader, you know, a good master to help me sharpen myself, sharpen my skill set. I'm very short. I'm not naturally strong.
Yeah.
I'm not naturally fast. So I had to work really hard to get to some semblance of competition level. And, you know, won a couple championships, lost a lot of fights, won a lot of fights, but it was a dope ride. Eventually I went pro. And when I had other friends that were going to fight for Epic, I would corner them. So I got to be behind the scenes as a corner as well.
That's great.
Corner and coach. And eventually I helped a friend of mine who started her fight organization kind of run the show. Not so much plan the event, but just run it on the day of the event. And I don't really know how her organization is doing right now, but I saw Jason there. I saw Harvey, our matchmaker, the man there. And they let me know that Epic was looking for an operations person. And I was like, all right, let's make it happen. Like, I'm in school for business. I've organized all kinds of other stuff before, just not fight events. So let me see what I could do for you guys, because this organization did a thing or two for me.
Yes.
So let's see how I can give back.
And so you're in your early 30s, you said, right?
Yeah.
What, 32, 33?
Mm-hmm. 34.
Yeah, 34. Okay.
A lady never tells, but I
That's
just told.
And so when did you get into fighting originally? What age?
Oh man, my whole life.
Your whole life?
My whole life I wanted to fight, but
Come on.
it was 3 of us. I was the only girl. I had to.
Meaning brothers and sisters?
Yeah, brothers and sisters. Well, actually, I have lots of brothers and sisters, but in my household, it was 3 of us,
Yep.
and I was the oldest and the only girl in my household. But the 3 of us loved action movies. We to this day are huge Dragon Ball Z fans. Now it's now it's a household name.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Goku and Vegeta,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we were watching it in Spanish and in Japanese, like whatever language they would throw it on TV at whatever antenna channel we could find it. We were huge fans of Dragon Ball Z.
It's so funny.
And pretty much any movie, TV show, cartoon that had fighting in it, we were there. And we would beg my mom, please put us in karate, please put us in boxing. And she was like, if I do it for one of you, I got to do it for all of you.
Right.
And so you're going to play soccer because that's free.
Yeah, because the other stuff costs money.
Yeah, so I played soccer my whole life. I stopped growing like in 5th grade. So I had the same pair of cleats up until college, I think.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
you're
my
kidding
feet
me.
are so small. I'm telling you, I'm small.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'1".
Oh, 5', you're not that small.
Well, I grew that.
My wife's
that extra
5'1".
inch at 27 years old. I was 5'0".
Are you serious?
In fact, I was 4'11 and 3/4.
Yeah, 5'1's not that bad.
I'm proud of that one.
You are proud of that one. Yeah, that's not that bad. You're not that short. I thought you were in your 4 something by the way you were talking.
No, I mean I'm like 6'2" on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm a big dog.
That's right. I love it.
Yeah, I played soccer all the way till college.
And then, so when did you get? So you got into fighting after college?
Yeah, I eventually allowed myself to train, to put money into it after college when I was working and had a schedule and stability. But I wrestled in high school.
You did?
Yeah, I gave up my soccer varsity letter to wrestle. I was like, there's no wrestling in any of the colleges around me.
Right.
SDSU didn't have it. The community colleges don't have it. And for personal family reasons, I wasn't going to leave out of the city to study.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, if I don't wrestle now, I'll never do it. And I did a season. Again, I was the only girl. I was really heavy back then. And so I only wrestled men. But every match I had.
Was this senior year?
Longer. Yeah, senior year. Yeah.
Was the wrestling team like, what are you doing?
They were.
Because there's no other female wrestlers, right?
No other. One of my best friends was going to join with me. But she has a heart murmur and she didn't get cleared.
Okay.
Oh, but she would have killed. I'm telling you, she was so good. But yeah.
And so what did the wrestling coach say when you wanted to join? He's like,
I think that he was inclined to not let me, but they had another female in the team like 2 years before me. And there were some like fraternizing issues, and that's why they weren't sure. And that question always comes up with like co-ed and intermingling and stuff. And it's like, what you need to worry about is that I don't break one of these boys. Like, that's how I walked in, with all the fire.
That's unbelievable. What did your mom think of this?
My mom was afraid at first. Moms are always afraid at first. But then she saw how committed I was, how like obsessed I was. I changed my diet. I didn't have like YouTube and smartphones back then, but if I did, I'd be up all night studying, I bet you. But I was, going to school.
And so you were wrestling guys, boys.
Only guys.
How did you do in the meets?
At first, so funny. The first one, it happened so fast. The guy went for a double leg and like threw me off the mat into the other mat. Like they had to call the match because they were like, what the hell? Like a whole 2 people landed on another mat. So yeah, that first one, and I was like, how the hell did he do that? Like I fought my brothers my whole life. None of them have ever blasted me. So yeah, that was funny. Wow. But then after that, I kind of got the hang of it, of like, oh, this is what they mean by crossface.
Yes.
And yeah, so you get to figure it out live.
Of course.
You figure it out live.
And so did you win any matches in your senior year?
I won one match by points.
Yeah.
Because I kept reversing the
control.
The pin attempts, reversing the control, reversing the pin attempts. So I won by points one time. But the really cool thing is that, well, back then I started at 195 pounds. So I was a big, heavy set girl. Wow. I mean, I was really muscular, so I wasn't like round obese, but I was for 5 feet pretty stocky.
Yeah.
And I ended the season at 160. So I lost a lot of weight at 17 years old, but anyway, yeah, I was wrestling big monsters. So boys that are 195, 180, 170
strong.
Pounds. Think of these welterweights in the UFC. Like
I know.
Freaking George Masvidal was a big one, right? He
right.
was one of the big welterweights. Like wrestling guys that look like
That's
that.
big. Yeah.
And my little short pudgy self. And so but every dual meet, it would take longer to pin me, or they wouldn't pin me, but they would win by points. So that to
that's
me,
progress.
I was taking it with a great, like, I knew I wasn't going to go in here and go to freaking state. I knew that. I always knew that, but I was still striving for it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like, shoot for the moon, at least you'll fall for a star.
Yeah.
That was kind of my mentality
That's
going
right.
into wrestling. But anyway, it stayed with me. And I was like, any chance I get, anywhere I find that there's wrestling or something like it, like I'm going to take it. I'll do whatever I can. And again, these are different times. So we didn't have, Facebook was just barely being born.
Right.
Yeah. Instagram, I think, was barely an idea in those early 2000s.
Yep.
So it was harder to network and find information. And if there wasn't someone in your circle that did it, it might take you a little longer to discover that gym or that community or
Right.
that event exists. So it did take me a little longer, but from 2008 to eventually 2017, I got to wrestle.
In wrestling, did you also start any other MMA fighting?
I did.
When did it change into other disciplines?
I did Filipino martial arts.
Huh.
And that's really where I learned what it takes to become a champion. Yeah. So
I've never even heard of Filipino martial arts.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No. But
our
what do I know? I
military-
don't know anything.
Our U.S. military learns that is a really strong part of the combat curriculum.
Yeah.
Is the empty-handed weapons training, the Cali and the Arnis. Yeah.
And so where did you train with that?
So it's a friend that I met in college at a self-defense class I was taking in college. The assistant professor liked my attitude and offered me to train at his actual dojo. That dojo was in Poway area.
Yeah.
No, a little further than Mira Mesa area.
Okay.
And it was called West Coast Martial Arts with Grandmaster, may he rest in peace, Master Mario Gajo. And he taught me really like what it takes mentally and emotionally to win, to be undefeated, to take yourself seriously. See, all the times before I had learned skills, in wrestling, I learned how to go for a single and a double. I learned how to do the pancake toss, and I learned how to defend and sprawl. I learned techniques.
Yep.
And of course, you have to have the grit inside
Of course.
yourself to keep going, because wrestling practice
Brutal.
is no joke.
No, it's brutal.
It's brutal.
Brutal.
Once you've done wrestling,
Yeah, brutal. Nothing else.
you can do anything.
Yeah, I
You
hated
can
it.
survive anything.
I wrestled for 2 years. I hated it.
Yeah, I loved it.
I did.
I remember
Hated it.
one time we were running, after doing everything that we'd done, we were running, and I legit started crying. And then I was in shock because I was crying. I was like, why am I crying? Like, what's going on? And I was just like, oh, this must be really like pushing me and whatever. Anyway, I remember that moment and being freaked out by that.
Crazy.
And, but yeah, that's that grit and that warrior inside of yourself. You bring that out to survive the practice. But Master Mario did a lot of, he let us know just how dangerous what we were learning was. I'll never forget one of the times he brought out one of the knives that he always has stowed away, because it was an actual knife, not a practice knife. Brings out a sheet of paper, asks his son to hold it for him. And his son's holding it, like spreading it with tension. He's like, no, don't do that. Just hold it like this. And he brings out the knife and just kind of slices it, and the paper slices in half. And he was like, that's all it takes to open somebody up. Like, don't overthink it. And I was like,
Yeah, because they're just hanging there.
it's just hanging there like this.
Didn't need any tension.
No tension.
That's how sharp the blade is, too.
Yeah. And it's the kind of whipping motion that he used for it, which is big with Filipino. It's a lot of angle and whipping, a lot of wrist and elbow stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of it kind of looks like that when they're doing all the like empty hand work. So it was just kind of this quick whipping motion that he did, and it split the paper. And he was like, that's all it takes. Don't overthink it. I was like, okay.
That's interesting. Good Lord.
So things like that of you have to take it seriously, understand that what you're learning is lethal. But if I see any bad intention in you, like, I won't teach you anymore, because I don't want to train a killer.
That's right.
He's responsible with who he teaches and what he taught.
Yeah.
But really good man. Just passed away 2 years ago.
Oh.
And man, I was gutted. I was crying for like 3 months when he passed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was like a father figure to you, would you say?
Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, he was, yeah. Him and the professor that I met him through. They both passed away a couple years apart from each other. So, But yeah, so I had a chance to be exposed to other lighter versions of self-defense, karate, and then eventually this really hard Filipino martial arts and the stick fighting. And it was the first time in my life that I won something in sports. I'd done sports my whole life, but I was never part of a winning team. And that was the thing, that I was always doing something that was in a team. So it didn't matter if I was proud of my performance, my team lost. Right. So I finally get into something that's one-on-one, which in this case is the stick fighting. And I won. I beat the hell out of all the girls. And I took away my dope bolo knife. It was my trophy. I did another tournament after that, and I was the only girl in that one, but I got 3rd place. So I was like, oh, I could really do this. I'm not just trying my best anymore. Like, I'm a champion too.
Wow.
You know, so that was revolutionary for me. And again, another thing to carry with me throughout my life. 5 years after that, I finally get into MMA.
Yeah.
And about 7 years into MMA training, I get to compete. And to me, it was like a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
But it's like,
who'd you train MMA with?
With Roger Contreras and his friends. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
we'd be like in a park, in a garage.
No kidding.
Yeah, we had a gym for like this much time.
So did you tell him, hey, I want to fight? Or are they like, hey, you should fight?
He asked me, he's like, hey, would you ever be interested in competing? And I was like, well, I'd be interested. I don't know that I would. And that man taught me like about game plans. So now I'm not just doing my best. Now I'm not just being tough. Now I'm not just steamrolling people. I'm strategizing. He taught me how to be strategic or as strategic as possible. And
incredible.
Yeah, that it's a chess match, really.
Yeah. And then what was your first fight? Who'd you fight with?
So my first fight was at a fair. It was called Summer Fist, and it was at the San Diego County Fair. And then after that, I went to Epic. So I lost that first fight, but it went all 3 rounds. And it was against someone, I don't know if you've interviewed her here before, but she's fought for Epic once. Her name is Kiana Cub Montenegro. And
I don't think so.
Lots of respect to that girl. She's really well loved. She's pretty dope. So that was another thing that was hard. You meet someone that's like, oh my God, you're so cool. Oh, you like that too? Oh, you teach kids too? Oh, we have to fight each other?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so we fought each other that first fight. It was both our debut, and we were often the only women on the card, and it was a pretty good match.
Yeah.
It was a good matchup. So after that, I go to Epic, and Epic was like my redemption. And yeah, I won a 3-round unanimous decision fight. So that one was cool.
Which one?
Too.
Which Epic was that?
Epic 46.
46?
46 or 47.
And then how many more times did you fight?
41. Epic 41.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I did like maybe 6 or 7 more amateur fights. Eventually I went pro. My pro debut was at an all-women's organization called Fearless, which is in Mexico. And then after that, my second pro fight was at UWC. So UWC feeds a lot of Hispanic UFC talent. So Brandon Moreno came from there. Jasmine Jauregui came from there. A few people.
Yeah.
A few people that are pretty well known in the UFC and in other organizations now came from UWC. So they're based in Tijuana. And that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many Epic fights did you fight?
I fought 2 Epic fights, 1 won, 1 loss, but cornered a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. So how much do you love being a part of Epic?
I love it. It's so much fun.
What do you love most about it? Like, break it down. Like, what do you love? Describe what it's like being a part of Epic.
You know, I think what I've come to love the most is how dedicated, talented, and skilled my team is. I'm in a position to delegate, organize, for lack of better terms, kind of boss people around. But I don't really have to boss anyone around because everyone is so good at what they does. You just delegate and give a little bit of structure, like deadlines, maybe some ideas. My favorite part of what I do for Epic specifically is that I get to encourage people. It's like in my nature. It's my love language.
Yeah.
If you know about the love languages.
Yes.
My main one for me is physical touch. I'm very affectionate. I love to hug people and pat people on the back and things like that. And words of affirmation.
Yeah.
I love to let people know how great they are. Like
Yeah.
it just, it
That's
just
the
feels
vibe
so
I
good.
always got
Yeah.
every time I see you. I just love our 5-second interaction.
Yeah.
It
No.
makes my night. You're
And-
so, that smile, you're like, she's so nice, the hug. I feel like the most important guy in the world.
Oh man, because you are
For 5
man.
seconds.
You're the man. No,
Yeah, for
but
for 7 seconds. And then it's back to reality.
But I just love letting my team know how appreciated they are, how valuable their work is. And similar to how Mario did to me of like, hey, this is all it takes. Don't overthink it. Like I get to pass that on to some of my team that feel like maybe they're not doing, like they're doing it and succeeding, but not doing well enough, or that they're not appreciated, or that maybe somebody else could bring a higher quality. And I love letting people know, like, you're here because you belong here. You're here because you're the best at what you're doing.
That's right.
And if it wasn't working out, well, it wouldn't work out, would it?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I appreciate you. Jason appreciates you. And we all show it in different ways. Look, this is how Jason shows you that he appreciates you. And so I'm telling you because I think you need to hear it. And I think that's my favorite thing, that I get to show my best love language to my team in ways that in other facets of my life, there might not be the time or the space to do. Because let's be honest, the way life and society is, you don't always get to show the best of yourself. You have to kind of perform and mask your kindness, your excitement and zeal for life. Yeah. Especially as a man or as a fighter, you kind of have to put on this like hard face sometimes. And it feels really good to feel free. To feel free, to be open, to show your best self. To me, that's freedom.
I love it. I love it. It's so important as a leader. I love what you're saying here as far as because most people will strive for recognition and appreciation more than money. They just want to be seen. Yeah. They want to feel appreciated. They want to be recognized. It's everything. So as a leader, well done. That's everything. Literally everything. I can tell you by our interactions, I've just gotten the most incredible vibe from you. That's why when you turned the corner, I had no idea you were coming in. No. He said Joselin, but I didn't associate the two.
Connect the dots.
Yeah, when you turned the corner, I'm like, oh gosh. So I was so excited.
Joselin.
Yeah, you're so.
The one and only Jaws Fuller.
Yes. I love, and I can't believe you're a pro fighter. Like I had no idea.
Yeah, I'd still be fighting now, but I had a minor, I mean, if you could call it a motorcycle accident minor, I had a minor motorcycle accident and messed up my knees, my shoulders, got a pretty bad concussion, and it took me a while to recover. And by then I had also gotten married and took off my career as an insurance broker.
Is that what what's your full-time career?
That's what I do. I'm an insurance
broker.
No kidding. Yeah.
What agency do you work with?
I'm independent. So
you are?
I was with an agency.
Yeah.
But I've been working on going independent the past couple months, and I have a decent book of business right now. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Great.
Yeah. And I also just coach on the side, coach my nieces and nephews, because my goal ultimately in life is to have my own little dojo and pass on what's been poured into me.
Oh, that's nice.
So going back full circle to the thing of like, I'm kind of hoarding myself, hoarding my talents and my gifts. Just because I'm not fighting anymore doesn't mean I have nothing to offer.
Right.
So these little ones, they also need to hear that they can be champions too, that they have a greatness reserved in them. And one of the ways that I could teach it is through martial arts, but there's lots of ways to teach kids and teenagers how to achieve their greatness. There's not like one standard version of greatness.
Yes.
We're all great.
Oh yeah.
We're
in our
all
own
great
way.
If we just believed it, if we just looked for it.
And
But
then,
anyway.
And then it's important to have people around you that believe in you, that will pour into you, that will bet on you, that genuinely want you to succeed. That's rare, right? And that's where you come in.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's rare.
So the awakening you've had in the last year, you said what do you feel moving forward? What's your vision of Joselin, of the impact you're going to make, and how are you going to make it? How's that going to go?
I'm really harnessing this, I'm going to call it a persona. I'm really harnessing this persona of myself called the young Doña.
The young
Doña.
Doña?
So Spanish and English, right?
Doña.
So my brother started making fun of me at some point because he's like, you're really young. This is like in my early 20s. you're really young and like you're like 20 whatever, but you do these like old lady things. I'm gonna start calling you young doña. So doña is like it means like ma'am,
Yeah.
like ma'am or.
It's funny that I said the madam of the, right? Yeah.
Madam, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I'm just really embracing that right now. And I'm like, well, I'm in my mid 30s and I'm married, so I am a señora. Ooh. I'm a señora.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm still young, damn it. So that's kind of the vibe that I'm going to inject into this new version of myself, that young doña, that big sister or that auntie that gives you some really harsh advice that you never asked for, but you're always going to remember.
Yes.
Like, I'm really embracing that right now.
I love it. And what kind of insurance do you offer? Let's shout out your company.
Yeah, it's individual and family plans. So just your standard, health insurance for yourself and Medicare.
Oh,
Pretty
really?
well versed in Medicare, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm starting to get more into life insurance. So eventually we could talk life insurance, annuities. I
love it. And what's the name of your company?
Right now it's just like Fuller.
Okay.
Just like Fuller
you're in the
Brokers.
process of becoming solo, independent.
That's right. In the process, yeah.
Okay. Do you have an Instagram handle that you
I do not.
promote at all?
Part of my process is to make one.
Yeah. No.
I do have a personal Instagram. I just don't talk business on it.
Okay.
But it's Jaws, like the shark.
Jaws.
Jaws _ Pantera Negra. So it's like Black Panther in Spanish.
Nice.
So Jaws _ Pantera Negra. And you'll see like a really happy girl with a blue belt holding flowers like this. That's me.
That's you. Oh, that's amazing. Joselin, this has been an absolute pleasure. So nice to get to know you. I could go all day with you. You're just a pleasure. You're just
same. I feel the same.
You're just a beam of light. The world needs you. You're a beam of light in a very dark world that seems to be getting darker and darker and more infighting, which is what they want. Our system, they want us infighting.
Yes.
That's because then they can control us more and more. Like,
yeah.
we can go down this
and
for.
that's no secret.
No, that's not.
No secret. It's by design. You can Google the papers online.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So the world needs a light, and you are that light.
Thank you, JD. It takes one to know one, sir.
Yes, let's go. Let's go. God bless you. I loved this interview. Thank you so much. You're amazing. I can't wait to see you at the fight to get my beautiful hug, and I'll feel important for 7 seconds again. I'll feel wanted because Jason doesn't give me hugs. He gives me a nod, and that's it. I get nothing from him.
Jason's love language, I think, is acts of service and gift giving.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, there we go. Give that gift.
Right on. It's been a pleasure. Been an honor.
An honor for me. What a privilege. Thank you. What a treat.
Yes, my treat. My pleasure. My honor. Joselin Fuller, ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Epic 60 coming up February 21st. If you're watching this interview, come get a hug from Joselin. You're going to see what I mean. Your life will be better if you get hugged by Joselin. All right, let's go. Joselin out. Real Deal Talk. That's a wrap.